I'm going to figure out how to incorporate music back in the broadcast. How y'all doing today? This is going to be a lot of fun today. Really, really excited to have you all here. I really do I would like, I better shut this down now. I used to have music permissions when I was broadcasting on the OTT networks before I got the boot. That was a lot of fun though, because I could play any music I wanted. I even tried DJing during my broadcast, and I got to tell you that is much more difficult than I don't know how people can DJ and talk, but I tried to do it. I actually tried to redo my show Gratitude Unfiltered and called it Gratitude Unfiltered Remixed. And that's when I was trying to DJ and do my talk show at the same time. I wasn't very good at it, especially because I was still learning how to DJ. Oh, have mercy. How you guys doing today? Thank you so much for being here. I've not drawn the word today. I want to thank everyone who's been watching all the different episodes. Of course, I run this live and then I do what do you call it? I run it again live, but as a pre-record replay kind of thing. So anyway, but if you're here live, thank you. I won't answer comments or anything like that till the end because I'm going to try my best to focus and, deliver the message that I'm supposed to deliver today, which I have no idea what that is. That's why we're going to draw the word. But I want to thank you for being here. I hope you had an amazing weekend. I hope everyone got plenty of rest and are ready for this week. And I'm ready for this week. I'm definitely ready. And I'm definitely excited about doing these broadcasts. I'm having a lot of fun doing it again. And, but again, thank you for being here. So, all right, let's get into this. Today's word. Yesterday was about media. And I talked for a lot longer than I plan on because I really want to try to keep this around 10 minutes. But media is such a big subject for me. I think I could have kept talking for 3 hours, but I didn't want to waste everyone's time. But it would have been fun to talk about. And I'm getting ready. Actually, today, the course I've been telling everybody about, that's actually the first week of August. I think it's August 2nd or August 3rd. I'll be making that announcement today, but I'm really excited about teaching this course. I'm very passionate about the power of media in the hands of the right people. And I'm hoping that you are the right people. That's why I teach. All right, let's draw the word. Give me a good one. Oh, I feel like this is going to be a good one, but there's no coming back now. All right. Man, this is going to be tough. Humanity. God help me. All right, we'll be right back. Humanity. Gosh, it seems like we've gotten really far away from humanity, at least the humanity that we were created to live with, to live in. Don't even know if I'm saying that right, but it doesn't matter. This is spoken word, so this is just going to come through me. Isn't it interesting how with every convenience that we have been granted, the further we've gotten from our original design? I think about the upcoming world, and I don't want to talk too much about the upcoming world and the things to come because I don't want to make this about that. But with all of these modern conveniences, it's almost like, the evolution that we're going through is separating from us from our original design, not having to hunt and gather for our own food. We go to the grocery store and get it. I was having this conversation yesterday thinking about how like organic food for so long was absolutely rejected because no one wanted the bruises on the fruit. It looked ugly. It was aesthetically not pleasing. Therefore, we didn't want it. And yet the organic food was exactly what our bodies needed. And the fact, the more bruises on the fruit, in some cases, the healthier it is. Kind of makes me think of the bruises that we go through in life. Those bruises give, and those wounds give us this opportunity to really have the human experience. Yet so many of us, like myself included, for so long ran from the pain, ran from the suffering because it didn't feel good. Yet at the same time, it's the very thing that helped me become the person that I believe I was created to be, learning from the painful things. It's like for so long, we were taught, everything's bad or that's demonic. And then, and we do everything to run from those demons. Yet at the same time, those demons sometimes are our best teacher. We avoid the hardship. We avoid the pain. We avoid the struggle. We avoid telling the truth because we're afraid of the bruises that might come with it. Yet at the same time, it's the very thing that sets us free. In my own experience, after recovering from, 20 years of addiction of everything you can imagine, and I mean everything, every drug and sex and drugs and sex together, and even food, relationships, chasing love, even though I had no business even being around it. But everything was to run from the pain, to hide from the pain, to make things better, to make it all better. But it never was. In fact, it just made it worse. The longer I delayed the pain, ultimately it set me up for the greatest version of suffering that I could possibly have ever experienced. But after getting through addiction and getting through heartbreak and getting through other things, and I thought that I had things all figured out. But yet I was brought to my knees once again with this physical ailment that I have, right? Losing the ability to talk, losing the ability to be around people. And I love people. Losing my family, losing all of those things. It was the most painful experience that I ever went through because for the very first time, I knew and felt what heartbreak was. I knew what betrayal felt like. I knew what isolation and true loneliness felt like. Yet at the same time, it reminds me of when I went to jail the 6th time and I was facing 5 years and I was locked in isolation. There was nowhere to escape. I've had to learn very, very hard lessons that, one, I can't outrun God. And the more I try, the more painful the consequence of doing so is. The pain brings us closer to our humanity because it really shows us who we are and what we're made out of. You can't outrun your giants. You can keep running from them, but you're going to keep running back in them. I know from experience. But the more giants that we step up to face, the more we realize it is part of our humanity to overcome those giants. Overcome, defeat, conquer, destroy. And then once we've done that, we have this amazing gift of then getting to be able to show others how to conquer and destroy their own giants. What a blessing that is. Because not only do we then have a sense of duty and purpose and an understanding of why we went through what we went through, but then we get to teach others with it, giving even more purpose. But along the way, one of these indirect blessings that comes from getting addicted to facing our giants and slaying our dragons is that we start to understand that every giant and obstacle in our way was designed for us to overcome. It was designed for us it was part of the journey. The path to purpose is people talk about the path to purpose as if it's this up and down thing. And emotionally it is, but really it's a straight path, straight up with all the challenges and all the obstacles. You can fact check that. That may not be accurate, but just go with the analogy for me, please. Because sometimes we try to go to the left to avoid it, go to the right to avoid it. But eventually we circle right back into the giant. It's much, much easier to take it head on. And I believe in my own experience where I became closer to God was realizing that I might not be able to handle this on my own, but I believe if I tap into what God created me to be, which requires a connection to our Creator, then I can overcome anything. When I was alone in this very room, by the way, this is the room where I spend most of my time in isolation, at least since last June. There was another room in Minnesota that I was in isolation. This same room is where I spend most of my time. And this is where I also felt the most lonely and isolated. But yet, it's also where I got to hear the truth of who I am, the truth of what's to come, the truth of my relationship with God. Never heard God's voice better than I've heard in this time of isolation. This is where I've learned the joy in suffering. Suffering's not a bad thing. Suffering shows us really just how human we are. It's part of the human experience. And it also gets to lead to the greatest blessings of our life. And with all the modern convenience and other things that we have, the escapism, we have an escape at our fingertips. Escape into virtual reality, escape into porn, escape into gambling, escape into dating apps, escape into social media, escape into creating even, which is probably a better outlet. But all the escaping takes us further and further of who we are. It separates us further from God. It separates us further from our original design. And while I'm all for technology, there's a way to use it as a tool, and there's a way to be enslaved by it. And that's surrendering our own power, surrendering our own self-control to it, surrendering our own self-control to the conveniences that this world offers us. And in my own experience, doing the opposite of what the world does is typically what leads to where I want to go. It's ironic, actually, as I say that one of the most human things that we can do is to deny what most humans do. The other thing I feel led to say about humanity is this. Part of humanity is understanding that essentially we're all brothers and sisters in some way. And yet we see each other's differences and we criticize each other for them. We ridicule other people for them. We never give people a fair chance to even know who they are because we judge their attempts of truth. Sometimes the most loving thing we can do is let somebody believe what they think is true long enough for them to get corrected on their own. Because typically no opinion that we have, no opinion that we can share is actually going to ever really change someone's mind. Change comes from within. Change comes from a prompting. Sometimes change comes from a swift kick in the nuts. I'm stubborn enough that God has to kick me in the nuts most of the time to get me to go, oh, okay, I get it now. I'm fresh out of nuts to be kicked, though. I'm done learning the hard lessons and instead tending just to listen the first time. But I wouldn't have learned that without isolation. I wouldn't have learned that without suffering. We can't really suffer without, not trying to run from it, not trying to escape from it. Suffering gets to be a gift. Suffering gets to be a blessing. Suffering ultimately gets to lead to our greatest joy. And in the last year, if I've learned anything about suffering, I've truly, truly learned that it leads to some of the greatest blessings of our life, and I'm getting to experience them now. My dreams came true and began to come true in the toughest year of my life. Why? I personally like to believe it's that I was in line with what God created me to do. I think of the story of Job quite a bit, but there's so many other stories. But I also look to the people that I see that am blessed to serve. I see what other people go through, and I think, wow, regardless of my situation, I don't really have it that bad. Instead of focusing on what other people had, I started to focus on what I get to be grateful for. And that in itself helped me learn the joy in suffering. So today I'd like to encourage you to not run from what hurts you. We all have an opportunity to remove the things that no longer serve us from our life. And frankly, sometimes that in itself can end the suffering that most of us go through. But also, instead of running from the thing that hurts, and sometimes that's being honest. How long have I gone? Okay, I'm going to say this last thing and then I'm going to wind it down. I say a lot that truth will attract your tribe, But what I haven't said a lot on camera, but I mean with all my heart, is we can never really get what we want in life, even what we want from God, without being honest about it. We'll never find the love that our heart desires and wants until we're honest with ourselves about who we are, and then be able to express who we are to the person that we might want to love us. And I have an ugly, scary truth. But even in my ugly, scary truth, I found someone who loved me for it. I have friendships and family, relationships with family that I never thought I would. And it came from painful truth. I would like to encourage you, all of you, any of you who are suffering or struggling with being honest about who you are because you're fearful of judgment. Those people that you fear that their judgment, they're going to judge you no matter what. You're never going to be holy enough. You're never going to be good enough. You're never going to do things perfect enough in their minds to please them. So stop worrying about what other people think and start loving yourself for who you are. And if that's not who you're meant to be, I can promise you, our Creator has a funny way of nudging us back on the path to truth. But we can't do that if we're listening to all the noise from other people. Part of humanity is going through the full human experience. Eat the pain. Eat the pain that has been given to you and learn to enjoy it. Because in enjoying it, or finding gratitude in it even, you will find a freedom that no one can ever take from you. Finding joy in suffering is not just the most amazing human experience there is, it also makes you the most uneffable person in the planet. No one can mess with you once you find the joy in suffering, but you got to go through it first. Thank you for watching. All right. We'll go through the comments here. My favorite, I'm not even going to put these person on camera. It's the kick comments are hilarious. They're just trying to sell me everything. Anyway, thank you all for being here. I'm grateful for my amazing weekend. I had an amazing day yesterday, one of the most soul-nourishing days of my life. Not because I got to do a broadcast, but just the who I spent my time with was really, really special for me. And I'm grateful for those experiences because, again, I didn't think I'd get to experience any of that stuff again. And or even to experience any of this new things I've been experiencing. I didn't think it was possible. I prayed for it. I wanted it, but I also didn't think it was going to happen. But I keep being reminded of, like, if we want something, like if our heart desires something, well, we have to become, like, even if you're desiring millions and millions of dollars, if you don't become the person that can steward that money well, you're just going to wreck it and it's going to make a disaster of your life. I know from experience. Like, we want to be ready to receive the blessing that our heart desires. So that means we get to become the people that can steward those blessings well so we don't lose it. And then we can build off that blessing to even generate more blessings. And that's not some prosperity gospel stuff, by the way. I don't believe in that. And I'm not going to badmouth anyone or anything, but I don't believe in that. But I do believe that if we show our Creator that we're a good steward of what we're blessed with, then we will be able to receive more. It's pretty simple to me. Anyway, all right. Well, thank you all for being here. If you feel led to share this, thank you. And we'll see you again soon. Thanks.